Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to discuss a game I played in my round 3 of the Santa Cup Open 2025, and this game I'm playing with the white pieces, and as I mentioned I lost the round 1 game in the Dragon Sicilian. He played an incredible game, and I played the black pieces in the round 2, and I played my favorite kings in defense, and I won a crushing game. So this is round 3. Going into the round 3 I'm with the white pieces. I want to win this game. So I played e4, best by test, and I'm just threatening to play d4 and create this classical pawn center. So he plays e5, preventing me to create that classical pawn center. And yeah, I got my bishop and queen and my knight. I can develop pieces, and he also can develop his pieces. So I don't want this pawn to be here, annoying me to play d4. So I attacked that pawn and not f3. I played knight to f3, attacking this pawn. He plays knight to c6, defending that pawn. And I can play many moves in this position. I can play c3 in this position, I can play d4 in this position, I can play bishop to e2 in this position, bishop to c4 in this position, bishop to b5 in this position. Bishop to c5, b5 is the move I played, which is known as a Spanish opening. And I'm playing Spanish opening since 3 years. And Spanish opening, not 3 years, maybe more than that. And Spanish opening is something, which is very good for white. When I play, like, I played some incredible games with the Spanish opening, and it's like, people used to call it a Spanish torture, because you're just keeping pressure on black from the starting move, from the move 3, just keeping pressure on black. You're just threatening to double the pawns sometimes, and yes, you're just threatening to remove the forces of black from the center. You want to play c3 and you want to play d4. That's the idea of the royal episode of the Italian opening. You want to play c3 and d4, and if black takes, you want to capture with the c pawn and keep this pawn center. That's the thing. And if this knight is annoying sometimes, white might give up the bishop pair. White will only have one bishop and black will have two bishops. So white will be giving up the bishop pair, and this knight will be gone. The pawns will be double, but white will get the classical center. So white can do that, but in 99.9% cases, white will not give up the bishop for the knight. But in some cases, white will give. But I'm not the type to give up my bishop for this knight. And you might be thinking like, okay, white can simply take and win this pawn, right? But nah, black can even provoke you to take that knight and try to win that pawn. So my opponent plays a6, provoking me to take this knight and win this pawn. And I can't actually win. If I take, he'll simply capture back, and if I take, he'll play 4. Queen to d4, attacking my knight and attacking my pawn, and he'll be simply getting his pawn back. So I did not take this. I got back, bishop to a4, keeping some pressure on the knight still, and I'm not going to give up my bishop so easily. And he plays knight to f6 in this position. Knight to f6, uh, attacking this pawn, and it's an interesting thing. What do you play in this position with white if you don't know theory? Well, if you don't know theory, you're going to play d3 or knight to c3 or any other move. Let me go through you. Knight to c3. Knight to c3 is a standard move, and it's completely playable. Like, it's 4 knights Spanish opening, it's completely playable. But knight to c3 does an important thing. First, it blocks the c pawn. So you're not going to play c3 and d4 anytime soon. You need to move this knight, and it will be causing a lot of problems. So knight to c3 is not something I recommend, but you can completely play. It's fine. It's not a blunder or it's a mistake. It's a book move. You can completely play that. It's completely fine, but not something I would recommend. You want to play c3 and d4, and you can play d3, defending this pawn. But yeah, it looks completely natural, right? Like, you developed your bishop already, so you're closing the pawn chain after your light square bishop developed. Your light square bishop already out of the pawn chain, and then you're going to open the light for the dark square bishop. It's completely fine, but when you play c3 and you're going to play d4, you already played d3, so you'll be wasting a tempo, you'll be wasting a move. So you are not going to play d3. And the third option is queen to e2, which I personally played in many games, but I had some bad results with. So I don't recommend any three of these moves in this position. Simply castle, man. And I also castled in this position. you know I just said, like, you can take this pawn, but I'll bring my rook here and cause some problems. And that's the thing, black can take this pawn because engines prove that it's a dead equal position only when black knows what it's doing. But white gets a comfortable play, like white plays rook to e1, Black needs to move the knight and white will win back the pawn, and the king is still in the center, so there will be so many problems for the black king if black doesn't know how to play properly. My opponent didn't take this risk. After I castle, my opponent didn't take this risk taking this pawn. He simply played bishop to e7. In the previous move, if he had captured this pawn, which is known as the open system, and now he plays bishop to e7, right? So this is known as the closed system. I played rook to e1, defending this pawn, and he simply can't castle in this position right now. If he castles in this position, I would simply take this, and after he takes with the d pawn, I'll simply capture this pawn, and I'll be up a clean pawn. Because now black doesn't have queen to d4, because if black plays queen to d4, I'll simply go back here, and this pawn is being defended by the rook. So you need to go back, and I'll play e5 and then d5. I'll simply be up a pawn, completely winning. So he doesn't wanna do something. He did not castle. He plays the strongest move, b5, chasing about this bishop, and I got back bishop to b3. And that's the thing. You wanna play bishop to b5 and reroute the bishop here and create these weaknesses. White will say, but I really like this position with the black also, because black can finish out of the bishop, and this queen side expansion might help black to create some chaos in the queen side. So it's not really like a weakness, but yeah, you can say if you're white. Uh, Keeping it in this long diagonal, and now my opponent castles in this position, and it's an important position in Royal Lopez. It's a standard position. The main move in this position is to play c3 is main move, but Indians top choice and many grandmasters would play a4, trying to avoid the prestigious martial attack. The martial attack starts with when white plays c3, standard move. You want to play c3 and d4 and you control the center. Black plays the martial attack or the martial gambit. Black plays d5, the martial attack or the martial gambit. It's one of my favorite gambits, and attacks with black. I personally played it many times if my opponent allows me to, and I had some crushing games too. The thing is, you're sacrificing a pawn for rapid piece activity and attacking the white king. So this pawn is being attacked two times and defended two times, but after white takes and takes, this pawn is being attacked two times and defended only one time. So white will take, black will take, and white will take with the rook. White captures the knight with the rook, and the rook is in center, keeping some pressure here. So you'll defend this with the pawn. And look at this position. Who do you think is better in this position? Well, modern day grandmasters would play either color in this position, and Indians would also play. But uh, grandmasters from more time and modern day grandmasters also, they would prefer black in this position. They would like to play with black in this position. Why? Because the king is all alone. The only defending piece for the king that used to be is the knight. The knight got greedy and took the pawn, got vanished from the board, and the king is all alone. And white's development is so suspicious. White needs to play any active moves and develop the pieces, and only the bishop and rook will be developed, and black will eventually play bishop to d6 and chase over the rook and queen here. Like if white plays the normal move, the theory move d4 is the theory. Black will play bishop to d6. White will need to bring the rook back, and black plays queen to h4. If the knight is here, the queen to h4 move will not be possible. So knight, it was gone, and queen to h4, attacking this pawn. To defend that pawn, even if you push, I'll simply sacrifice and create some chaos here. So you want to play g3, and black plays this move. Next move, black will play this move and bring the knight via here, and black will have a pretty so good game. Black will be having a so good game, and many grandmasters doesn't like this position with white. They always want to avoid this. So that's the thing. That's the thing martial attack was, and I'm expecting him to play this. Yeah, I allowed him to play the martial attack, because the thing is, white players doesn't like the martial attack because they don't know much theory about it. But I know much theory about it with black and white, so I allowed him to play the martial attack because I know my theory would eventually outcalculate him. So uh, you know, I played c3 and allowed him to play d5, but he did not play d5. He did not play d5. Uh, Let me go back. Yeah, he did not play d5. He simply played he simply played d6 in this position. And d6 is just defending this pawn, so white will not be having any attack on that pawn anytime sooner, and just freeing up this diagonal for the bishop. Nothing so special. and it prepares this queen side c5 c4 expansion. And this it's I thought of like, okay, he might not know about the martial attack, or he might know about the martial attack, but he doesn't want to play. uh, I simply pushed h3 in this position. The thing is, I can push d4. I pushed it in many of my online games and I allowed this bishop in, but now I don't want to take risks against it. I played h3, not allowing this bishop pin. So he played a theory move in this position, which I was completely dazzled. Like when he played this move, I generally thought of like, man, this guy is well prepared in this line. And he played knight to b8. Knight to b8. Seriously? Yeah, knight to b8. And knight to b8 is known as the Breyer variation. And I played Breyer variation also sometimes, but not very often. Breyer variation, the idea is to simply, I'll explain. But there is another variation which has the similar ideas of the Breyer variation, which is known as the Chigorin variation. Chigorin variation will start with knight to a5, keeping some pressure on this bishop, and you need to move the bishop because you don't want to give up uh, a bishop for a knight. So you will play bishop to c2, and black will play c5 in this position. c5, and that's the thing you want to play. You want to move your knight. And clear the way for your c pawn. And the thing is, black wants to keep the knight on c5. So black will play c5, c4, vacate the square for the knight. Black will play knight to b7 and knight to c5 and keep the knight here. But the thing is, sometimes black might get some problems regarding this knight. This knight might get stuck in the corner of the game for the entire game, corner of the board. So black doesn't want to take any risks if he's playing the Chigorin variation. So most grandmasters have stopped playing the Chigorin variation, but it's completely fine if you can play. And the thing is, you can't actually develop this bishop to a sensible square. The only two sensible squares I can say is bishop to e6 or bishop to b7. You can play bishop to d7, but it's not something I would recommend. You can't actually put bishop any other way than b7 and e6. And e6 is completely fine, but it depends on what kind of game do you want. He wants a slow positional game. He plays bishop to b7. He can play. Um, he wants to keep his bishop in this long diagonal. But when he plays knight to a5, his bishop will be here, so he can't actually reroute the knight. So he needs to wait for this bishop to move, and you know, he needs a lot of time to do his plan. But in the Breyer variation, knight to b8, you don't need to move from here to here. You can simply go to d7 and then to c5. Yeah, and now you'll not be dealing with the problems of the bishop, because the bishop can simply go here, attack this pawn, and your knight will simply play knight to d7. And this knight to d7 not only aims for the c5 square but also defends this knight. Your knights will be so combinedly placed, and it's a pleasant position for black and white. So that's the idea of the Breyer variation. You want to play c5, c4, and knight to d7 and knight to c5. Keep some knight here. And the reason why black wants to keep knight here is to simply keep some pressure on this pawn. So that's the thing. And bishop to b7 and rooks here and keeping some pressure, which I'll explain. And I played d4 in this position. As I know, as I want to play d4, and he simply can't take. If he takes, I'll simply capture with the pawn, and you know I'll capture with the pawn, and he'll have a lot of trouble because I'll be having a classical pawn center. So he did not. He left this tension like that, and I'm attacking this pawn one more time. So he defended with knight b2 d7, and that's the typical plan. And in this position, I played knight b2 d2. Knight b2 d2. You might say like, well, isn't it blocking my dark square bishop? Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not going to keep my knight here. I wanna reroute my knight to the king side. It's the main theme of the Royal Lopez. You wanna play knight b2 d2, knight f1, knight e3, or knight g3, depending upon the position. So you wanna reroute the knight to the king side from your queen side, the queen's knight to the king side, and that's what I'm going to do. And he needs to attack this pawn, so he plays bishop to b7, attacking this pawn. And at the moment, my knight is and rook are protecting that square, but I want to move this knight. I don't want to keep the knight here and blocking my bishop like that, so I played bishop to c2, preparing to move my knight. And uh, you know in this position, he played rook to e8, and his idea is to play simply bishop to f8 and take and give some pressure here, which saw I saw that, like, he wants to play bishop to f8 and take, and after I capture with the d pawn, this pawn will be under attack. Like my three pieces will be attacking, and I need to play this move as early as possible. Like I want to keep my knight here as early as possible, and I need to play knight to f1, which is what I played, and he played bishop to f8, and I need to play knight to g3 as early as possible. If I doesn't play knight to g3 and I play any random move in this position like a3, he'll simply take, and after I capture back, this pawn is being attacked three times, and this pawn is being defended only two times. So I'll simply win the pawn in this position. So I need to I need to keep my knight here, which I saw. So I played knight to g3, and we are still in theory. This is a well-known theory. We are in move 14 and still theory. And he plays c5. c5. I mean not c5. Sorry, he plays g6 in this position. When I played knight to g3, knight to g3, he saw that my knight might come to f5, and f5 is a typical square for the knight in this kind of king pawn opening setups, where you want to keep the knight on f5, and in queen pawn opening setups you want to keep the knight on e5 in queen pawn opening setups, but in king's pawn opening setups you want to keep the knight on f5. And Kasparov famously said, like, a knight on f5 is a dangerous piece. It's like a time bomb or something. He said something like that. So knight he was enabling, and I can't easily play knight to f5 in this position. So he plays g6, and g6 has another move. uh, you know it's a multi-purpose move. He wants to play bishop to g7, and keep it like a fianchetto variation of the king's Indian defense setup, kind of structures. And yeah, I played bishop here, pinning this knight, and of course it's being defended by the queen, so already the knight can move actually. So even if the knight will get double attack, he'll simply block with the bishop by here defending that knight. So he was not worried about it, so he plays c5 in this position, you know completely challenging my pawn. And I'm more than happy to play d5. And I played d5 because it's worth mentioning. Like, let me mention you in a previous moves ago. uh, yeah, in this position, after black plays bishop to b7, you might think like, well, what if we just push this pawn? Like, it's nothing, nothing, right? But black will simply play c6, and completely destroy the center of white. So I don't want to allow that. I don't want to allow that. So I simply played bishop here, and he played c5, and now I played d5, because now black will not have c6 more. So I played d5, completely gaining space on e6 and c6, and my pawn is like having a lot of space, and this pawn becomes a backward pawn type of thing. And black plays c4, and brings the knight here, which is what happens in the game. He plays c4, trying to bring the knight here. I played knight to you know I played knight to h4, and he did not see my threat. He simply played knight to c5, and from you know now this on, I just kept going into the full berserk mode, I should say. I played with an incredible precision. The thing is, I kept the knight here because I want to jump my knight here. I will sacrifice the knight there if I want to just open this file, and my queen will also come. The knight is pinned. If I take, and the queen will come, I'll be having a lot of pressure there. So I was just expecting that. And he plays knight to c5, and he allowed me to just take the control of the game, like giving the steering wheel. This pawn is being defended two times, so I don't need to worry. I just played queen to f3, you know attacking this knight one more time and bringing the queen into the play to the king side. And if this bishop is not there, these class squares will be terribly weakened, and he needs to defend this knight. He can defend it in two ways. He can play, what do we say, he can play bishop to e7, or bishop to g7, or bishop to e7, or he can play knight c2 d7. But he did not. He played bishop to e7. He chose the wrong way. He needs to play bishop to g7, and still it will include my brilliant sacrifice which I played in the game. I played when he played bishop to e7, I played that move. When he plays bishop to g7, I can still play the move knight to f5. Brilliant move, sacrificing my knight. The thing is, I'm just threatening to take this, and my position is completely winning, and black needs to be careful. Like, I got this four pieces, and later I'll reroute the rook into the file, and I'll be having a great pressure. And even if black takes, I'll capture back, and this position is even better for white. And I got a similar kind of position in the game. um, He plays bishop here, you know, thinking it will defend the knight, and it's breaking the pin, right? It's breaking the pin. So he plays bishop here, but I completely took the control of the game. I played knight f5, sacrificing the knight. My idea is, even if he doesn't take, I'll simply capture this bishop, and even if he captures with the queen or rook, it doesn't matter. I'll capture this knight and I'll be winning a piece. So even if he takes, I'll bring my other knight. So he took, I brought my other knight. I sacrificed my knight to repop in the g file for the attack, for my attack. And black, if my attack fails, black will use the g file for the counterpart. And I played knight to f5, attacking this bishop. My threat is to simply take, and if he plays a random move, I'll simply take and win a piece. So he did not play a random move in this position. He played bishop here, saving the bishop and keeping this here. And this knight is, yeah, it's under a lot of pressure, but knight is blocking it. So I played queen here, threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries. He plays bishop to g7, shutting down the g file, and I can take. He can take with the queen, and I can take with the knight. He can take with the queen, and I can trade the queens if I want. But it's a draws kind of position which I don't want to play. That's why. And black gets the g file for the counterpart. Like black can simply play king here and rook here, and then bishop here. Bishop can take this. Bishop can take this pawn because the pawn is pinned. So black will be getting a lot of pressure, by the way. So I can't really afford queen trades and go into this drawish end games. So I took this, eliminating the strong piece. He took, and then I can take, and he can't actually take with the queen because his king is in the check, so he needs to take with the king. And I thought of like this would be winning, right? But nah, it's too complicated. Like I really felt this in the game. Like my only thing is attacking his queen, so I can't really do anything with the queen, and he'll simply get this g file for the rook. So I don't want to allow him to play the counterpart. So I did not take in this position. I played queen here, keeping some pressure here, and then threatening something like this. So he saw that what's coming. So he plays knight to d7, defending his piece. Defending his piece one more time. Yeah, even the king is defending, but the after this queen check, the king moves and then piece will be loose. So he wants to defend that piece. He plays knight to d7, and now I played a move, and he played some series of two. He played two series of moves under time pressure, and I played rook to e3, and I was better at clock. I don't know, remember, but I'm up time, and he plays a5 in this position. The thing I played rook to e3, I played rook to e3 is to just to play rook to f1, f3, and simply keep some pressure here. So he completely missed that. He completely missed that, and I played a3, a5, and I played rook to f3, keeping some pressure here. And he's thinking like, well, he did not even think. Like he was like, well, the knight is already defended, right? So let's just activate the rook in the c file. And he plays rook to c8, and he doesn't activate the rook on the c file. Like I don't really know what's this rook doing. Maybe he wants to play rook to c7 and you know bring the rook here. Maybe, I don't know. And then this allowed me to instantly end the game because it's too easy. I played this check. He needs to go back, and yeah, this knight is being defended already, but nah, I can it's been defended two times, but it's being attacked three times. So the king already got away, so it's being only defended two times. So I simply can take with the rook and do this. That's what I did. The best move is to simply take this with the bishop, attacking the queen. And the best move is to take with the queen. If you take with the knight, I'll simply give this check, and it's mate in 3. So after go here, this is checkmate. And after you block, I'll simply give here, and after you block, I'll simply give here, and after you do, this is checkmate. So it's like mate in 3. So you don't wanna take with the bishop, but I thought of like after he takes, I'll take with the rook, and I thought of like this is the position I'll get, but I did not see this move coming. uh, I simply took with the rook. I sacrificed my exchange because it's too easy to calculate. Like I can take, and then he'll take, and I mean he'll take, and I'll capture with the bishop, and this is unstoppable unless you give up the queen. So after I played this rook takes on f6 move, my opponent resigned in this position. Yeah, why did he resign? Of course, you don't need to you know uh, explain why did he resign, because this is overwhelming. And even if he plays a random move, I can win this game easily. I can even sacrifice my rook in this position. Yeah, threatening checkmate. And after he takes, I'll simply give this check. The king is completely can't go upward, so he needs to go down. He goes down and he plays bishop to h6 checkmate. So I can do this. So I'm completely winning by the way. When this rook move is even reveals an attack on the queen. He's completely doomed, so he resigned in this position. And that's my game from round 3 of the tournament. And I hope you really like this game. And I hope you learned something from this game. Thank you for watching, and I'll be covering my round 4 game tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.